Okay, so picture this, if you will. Like, you're in a bustling city, right? Horns, buildings, the works.
Hmm.
Now, totally different scene. You're in a quiet village at the edge of a forest, Western Ghats of India. You can practically smell the fresh air.
Oh, yeah.
That contrast is where we're going today with this deep dive.
I like it.
And get this, our source is, well, a sixth grade science textbook chapter. It's called Nature's Treasures.
Interesting.
And trust me on this one, it's got some really thought-provoking stuff.
You know, what I find fascinating is how they use this story in the chapter. Two kids, Bhumi and Surya, they're visiting their grandmother, their Aji, in this village.
I love that.
It brings it to life,
Yeah.
and they explore all these things: air, water, forests, even just the ground beneath their feet. It's a
Yeah.
good reminder. Even now, even with all our fancy technology and everything, these basic things, they're still what we depend on.
Totally. They're essential. So let's start with the air we breathe. Or maybe the air we kind of forget about half the time.
Right. The chapter actually starts with this breathing exercise.
Yeah.
Have you ever, actually stopped and thought about it? That need for air
It's funny how we don't.
is oxygen, obviously. But we think of air and it's like, oh, oxygen, but it's not that straightforward.
No, it's a mix. And it's actually mostly, did you know this, mostly nitrogen.
Yeah.
It's something crazy like 78%.
It's wild. It really makes you appreciate every breath, doesn't it?
It really does. Now, what I love is how they use this example of those paper pinwheels?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They call them Furky.
Yeah.
It's just this simple thing.
Yeah.
But it shows the power of wind, right? And then you think about windmills, we see those as technology, but it's like the principle's the same as this kid's toy.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so much we can learn from just observing the world around us,
Totally. Speaking of observing, the next big thing is water. Bhumi and Surya are helping their Aji with chores, fetching water, gardening.
Right.
Made me think, how often do we even think about how much water we use?
It's so true. We turn on the tap and it's there.
Right.
But when you're actually having to, go and get the water, it changes your perspective.
Definitely. And the thing is, fresh water, it's precious. It's less than 1% of the Earth's water. It's the kind that we can actually use easily.
It's a really small amount when you think about it that way.
It is. And the chapter even has this section. They call it wastage of water. Like leaving the tap running while you brush your teeth, or even just washing dishes with the water, blasting.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Those little things add up.
They do. It makes you realize small changes, like rainwater harvesting, for example. Aji probably does that naturally in the village.
Oh, absolutely. It's built into their way of life, right?
Exactly. Okay, so ready for another essential thing. Let's talk about the sun. The chapter, it describes Bhumi and Surya helping Aji dry chilies in the sun.
Okay, yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it took me back, to helping my grandma hang laundry. It's so simple, but we're using solar energy.
Right. And that's what's great about this chapter. It connects these really basic ideas to, real life. They also have this example, it's so clever, of a cow eating grass.
Okay.
And it's to show the role of the sun. The cow gets energy from the grass, right?
Yeah.
But where the grass gets its energy, the sun.
That's like a chain, yeah.
Exactly. We don't always see it, that direct connection. But the sun is powering pretty much everything.
That's true. It's easy to forget.
It is. And it's not just, the energy we get passively, just from the sun being there. Think about it. Solar panels. They're everywhere now.
Oh, yeah. Rooftops, even traffic lights.
Right. And it's the same principle as, those solar cookers and water heaters that they talk about in the chapter.
Yeah, it's all about harnessing that energy, just in different ways.
Exactly.
And you know where else we see harnessing resources in a big way?
Where's that?
Forests. The chapter takes us right into one with Bhumi and Surya.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Their walk with Aji.
Right. And the way they describe it, the smells, the sounds, you can practically feel that damp earth, the leaves rustling.
It's really vivid, yeah.
They even talk about how different the air smells there compared to the city. Makes you think, right?
It does. And it's a good reminder, forests, they're not just a bunch of trees.
Absolutely not.
It's an ecosystem, this whole web of life. Giving us oxygen, sure, but also shelter, food, so much biodiversity.
It's amazing. And the chapter even mentions those sacred groves. Have you heard of those?
Yeah, they're areas that are protected because of their spiritual value.
Right. Exactly. It reminds me of that Chipko movement. I don't know if you've heard of that one,
Mm-hmm.
but it was in India, and people, especially women, they were literally hugging trees to stop them from being cut down.
Wow, that's powerful.
Mm,
Really shows you how deeply connected people are to these places.
totally. And, it's not just the spiritual side or even just the ecological side. Think about all the products we get from forests.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I mean, wood, paper, obviously, but there's so much more.
Right, like where do you think medicines come from? Rubber? Even some types of fuel, they start in forests.
It's true. It's easy to forget when we see the finished product, where it all came from.
Yeah, totally. We don't always think about the source.
Okay, so ready to dig a little deeper, literally. Let's talk about the ground beneath our feet, soil.
All right, let's dig in.
I love how they show it in the chapter. Bhumi and Surya are prepping a garden bed with Aji,
Okay.
and they're seeing all this stuff, pebbles, roots, earthworms. It's like soil's not just dirt, is it?
No, not at all. It's alive, This whole mix of living things and broken down rock. And it takes, you wouldn't believe it, but thousands, millions of years sometimes for that rock to break down into soil.
It really puts things in perspective. Like soil degradation, it's a real issue.
Big time. Especially now with the way we farm and everything. It's not an unlimited resource, that's for sure.
No, it's precious. And, they mentioned this in the chapter, too, about how ancient humans, they were using rocks for tools like hand axes, arrowheads, all that.
Oh, yeah. Pretty ingenious when you think about it.
It is. It's like even back then, they understood that connection, to these raw materials. And speaking of materials from the earth, fossil fuels.
Okay, yeah.
There's this great illustration in the book. It's just called Fuel Station.
Mm-hmm. We've all seen it, right?
Exactly. But it represents this huge thing, this whole debate about energy.
It does. It's like such an everyday thing, filling up your car. But where's all that stuff coming from?
Right. And the chapter doesn't shy away from it. Like, it explains how fossil fuels are made.
Yeah. Millions of years, dead organisms, all that.
And the thing is, that makes them finite, right? They'll run out eventually.
That's the thing. And it's not some, way off in the future problem. It's affecting us right now. Every
Yeah.
time we use gas, we're tapping into that limited supply.
It really makes you think about those big questions,
Ah.
Like, we started with that city bustling
Mm.
versus Aji's village.
Right.
And we need those fossil fuels to keep the city going. But for how long? Can we keep going like that?
It's the big question, isn't it? Sustainability.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, the chapter, it actually ends kind of hopeful. Like, it reminds us we have choices.
Okay. Yeah.
Walking instead of driving, cycling, taking the bus. Might seem like small stuff, but it adds up.
Right. Like those water-saving tips, little things, but multiply that by, millions of people.
Exactly. Collective action.
It's kind of empowering when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get overwhelmed with climate change, running out of resources, all that.
Oh, absolutely.
But this chapter, it's like seeing it through the kids' eyes almost. It makes it feel more manageable. Like we can all do something.
Exactly, yeah. And it starts with just knowing, right, understanding where things come from, how what we do affects the planet. That's what we've been talking about this whole time.
It is. Who knew, right? A 6th grade textbook could get us thinking so much.
I know. It's amazing what sparks these conversations. We went from the air we breathe to, like, literally the dirt under our fingernails with that garden scene.
I love that. So as we wrap up here, I want to leave everyone with this thought. Okay, next time you're holding something, anything, could be your phone, your shirt, a pencil, just stop for a second and think. Think about what it took to get that object to you, the materials, the resources.
Because it all connects back.
It does. It's all connected. And I think that's the treasure, appreciating that.
Absolutely. Well said. Those nature's treasures, it's more than just science facts from a textbook. It's about how we fit into all of this.
Yeah.
And realizing that, keeping those treasures safe, that's on us.
It is
Yeah.
for our generation and all the ones that come after us.